Thank you. It's very early in the morning in Canberra, Australia, so I'm still waking up. But it's absolutely lovely and wonderful to be part of this um, international discussion today. So, for those who don't know me, and most of you probably won't, my name is Professor Kylie Message. I'm the director of the Humanities Research Centre in the Australian National University in Canberra. I'd like to start by acknowledging and celebrating the first Australians on whose traditional lands I'm meeting you today. We're on unceded Ngunnawal and Ngambri lands here in Canberra, and I welcome all First Nations people from wherever you might be listening and participating in the talk today. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce Margo Smith, who is Director of the Kluge-Ruhe Aboriginal Art Collection at the University of Virginia. We asked Margo to deliver this very special distinguished lecture today in recognition of the amazing work that the Kluge-Ruhe has done with Indigenous art collections, and particularly because of the work that's being done on this very special exhibition that's just been opened at Dartmouth Museum. So the exhibition's called Maɗayin, 8 Decades of Aboriginal Australian Bark Painting from Yolŋu. And it was a great opportunity for us to be able to visit the exhibition virtually and to hear a little bit about what's gone into that exhibition. So just before I pass over to Margo, I just wanted to explain that the Humanities Research Centre is based in Canberra at the ANU. For information about all our events, please have a look at our website. This is part of a very special lecture series called the Distinguished Lecture Series, and we ask leading experts in various fields to offer talks to our broader community about things of broad interest. And this particular lecture is the ANU Cultural Institution's Distinguished Lecture. And it's, as I say, very special. We're very honoured to have Margo to present the lecture. So I'll just pass over to her now. Thank you.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Kylie. My name is Margo Smith. I'm here with Djambawa Marawili. We would first like to acknowledge the Abenaki people as the custodians of the land that we're on, and the larger Wabanaki Confederacy. Djambawa, to get started, is there a Yolŋu way, a formal Yolŋu way that you would like to welcome us into this Yolŋu space?
Do I have to? No. Okay. Forgive me.
Thank you.
Forgive me, I think I have to express myself.
Yes, may I hold those?
To reach out from the other world to another nation, it's really pretty hard for us, like, leaving our families back there and the clans, and where all the patterns has been laid. And this is really for us, like, where we're reaching out, following the patterns and design and the stories from our backyard back in Arnhem Land. It's really give us a sorrow, and we have to respect to those people who has passed away, and some of them are still alive. That is where I was feeling really guilty in my soul and my mind. But let me say something now. This is really fantastic. I should really acknowledge this place where the people who are living on this country are still alive, and some of them already has passed away. I am acknowledging them. They has allowed me to speak on behalf of my people where we came across from Australia. Thank you.
Thanks, Djambawa. And there's a number of people that I need to thank too. Our colleagues at Australia National University for inviting us to give this talk. And the Hood has been an amazing partner in this whole project. Every one of their team has just outdone themselves by putting together with us this extraordinary exhibition. It's been a huge honor for Kluge-Ruhe's staff to work with the artists and knowledge holders of Buku-Larrnggay, and their very accomplished staff as well. And all of the consultants who have helped us along the way, who've brought their expertise on this very long journey. I am here really quite overwhelmed with gratitude for the Yolŋu contributors to this project, particularly Djambawa and also Mr. Wannabe, who's not with us. And he really put his heart and soul into the project, and his hand is seen in every aspect of it. I'm also extremely proud of Kluge-Ruhe's team, because we are a small team, but a really devoted team. Any of you who know us, and most of you do. Henry Scarrett, who worked so assiduously on the curation of this with a larger curatorial team. Our collections manager and registrar, Nicole Wade, who the installation, you have to give credit to her for that. She developed an amazing way to hang these paintings. And our education and programs manager, Lauren Maupin. And we are really excited to be able to showcase a lot of the Kluge-Ruhe collection to a much broader audience through this exhibition. The 5 Yolŋu artists who are here came an awfully long way from remote Australia to remote New Hampshire, and we're very grateful for their presence here to really celebrate Maɗayin. Will Stubbs and all of the staff at Buku-Larnge, John Stomberg, the director of the Hood, Jamie Powell, the curator of Indigenous Art here, and Sharon Reed, who's the programs director, and all of their skilled colleagues, Howard and Frances Morphy from ANU, who've been with us from the beginning, Cade McDonald from Agency Projects, Kelly Swain, our tour manager, and the many funders and supporters. And I would name you all individually, but that would take all night, so we don't want to do that. We're doing something more important here tonight, so there will be other moments to acknowledge everybody by name. But Djambawa and I were asked to talk about how this project came together over the 7 years that we have been working together on it. And I wanted to give it a title, and I'm the queen of corny titles, so I picked Yolŋu at Heart, which is a play on the word Yolŋu and young, because it's such an unfamiliar word to Americans. But when we thought about it, it couldn't be more appropriate, because Yolŋu were the heart of this project, the center of the project from the very beginning. And so when we talk about how this all started, I want you to think back to your first trip to Kluge-Ruhe in 2015, sponsored by Australia Council's Artist Residency Program. And I wonder if you can describe kind of the vision that you had for this exhibition at that time, talking to Henry and Cade, and seeing the collections that you saw.
What was the name of the place?
Kluge. Yeah, I know, it's tough.
Sorry, I have.
Rhymes with Scooby.
There's a lot of languages in my mouth, and probably the English is really third or fourth. So when I cannot pronounce properly that place, Kluge. Yeah, I think I met Yapa. I think that's where we had that first gallery. Is it gallery? And I think where we had a really good celebrating there, and I think a few of them people were there too, especially Waka. And we didn't really acknowledge my brother-in-law. We should be really thinking of him. Wannabe, I think he was a great guy and a great leader, because I think he was really leading us the way to submit and to get into this future. I think Mr. Wannabe. Yes, it was a person that he turned my minds around, and he really thought about it, and he really planned for the next generation to come. I thought it was for the next generation, but with the same people are here. Yes, this is where we started. We were thinking a lot of, it was new thing for us to plan, like, to make a very strong future for us to meet like this now. And I think it was, I think it was pretty hard for us to think about it, but and somehow we made it happen. Now, thank you. Thank you. It was really fantastic. Well, lucky our ancestral being has laid our patterns and design back in our own backyard in Arnhem Land. And don't forget that we have two moiety, Yericha, and I'm right in Dua. This is where my mother's, 3 different mothers' clan groups are here. Their patterns and their designs are here. I can see them clear. And I think the hits really lead me, and I came to this part of this small area. I think it is in Dua area. Ngara, we can say it, back there in our own backyard, in our own country. We call it Ngara or Wananga. Wananga. Now, Maɗayin is just a public name that anybody can use it. Women and children and adults. I mean, adults, So, these patterns lead us to this place. I think it is right here. All have names, all have stories, all have sacred objects around this area. Sometimes we, back there in our own territory, in our own country, we give it away in proper, in sensible way or in respectable way to show all these patterns like this. But sometimes some of our patterns and designs are all hidden here in our hearts and in our souls. I should really say thank you for those people who has lead us here and made a really good big gallery for us like here. So we can all be here again and seeing all these patterns. Some of the old really patterns where Dr. Thompson or whoever he was there. On those days time, Yolŋu time, where first missionary came to our community, and they maybe been saying just a small English, or saying Manymak, and then they really wanted to do more further to show themselves who are they. I have to make like this. They were putting all those patterns, and the design, because they cannot speak English, and they can only do it for flour, sugar, and fruit or honey, whatever, tobacco, to make it easier for the missionaries to probably give them some food. On those days, people were on 30s, people were still going on and off, along the coast in the land, and same where they found Captain Cook, or not Captain Cook, Dr. Thompson and the other guys. And they started to paint like this. They can only do to show themselves, this is who I am, and this is my patterns, and this is my stories. But to me, when I grew up and I want to enter to our man ceremonies, I couldn't understand what was that story means, what was that patterns means. All those patterns, like the old patterns. It was, seemed to me, it was just colorful patterns and designs. But on those days time, in 1950s, 58, 59, I knew the story. I knew the story. They were really telling the story. They were lodging the country. They were telling the country, and who were they? Some of our anthropologists came early on those times. I met these people there, and we were sitting down there typing the songs and singing, and sometimes the person, you have to go to sleep, and I have to wake him up. Wake up. And because it was really important part of job for him to go and research. We ourselves research ourselves too in every clan groups. We do care by caring by Yolŋu, caretaker, and all those names are really, we always care and to look after the belonging, the patterns and the design and the ornaments and the daily bag and the song lines and of course the name of the significant sites of those countries. We do care and we do look after. And that was early days where my time, how I have to enter to our man ceremonies, and it was the pattern. Some of our patterns was in my chest. I have to enter because it's for us. When you become 19, 18, or 20, or 16 or 17, we have to enter to you can say, maybe you could say university maybe, but for us it's say we have ngara, and also there is this system there. It's called wananga. Wananga means it's public word, or like you like to do something, but there is something that we always go through that structure to enter to further about our country. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Sorry?
Can I say something?
Yeah, yes. I'm really going fast, eh?
Yeah.
That's me.
I mean, there you go. That covered it. There's so many things that you said just now that I wanted to just unpack a little bit, and just from our point of view too. One of the first things you said was, this was hard for us, and I think you were talking about curating, thinking about the curation of an exhibition like this. And I thought, boy, you thought it was hard for you. It was really hard for us. We didn't know anything about this art, not like you do. So we had to ask you, tell us how to do this. Tell us what these artworks mean, how they should go into the exhibition, how they logically should sit next to one another, not in the way that we tend to think about them. like we look at these paintings from 1935 and then the paintings from 2020, and we would tend to put them maybe in order from the oldest to the most recent. But that's not the Yolŋu way, right? You came up with a different, what we call a curatorial story, or a different way of arranging the works so that they make sense to Yolŋu people. And it was about the patterns that you were just describing that's the key, right? And when you look around the gallery, as we can all do, you can see how these patterns transition from one painting to the next painting to the next. And I loved how you said before you were initiated, before you knew any better, you thought, oh, it's just designs, pretty colors, some pattern. But then when you were brought into the knowledge, then you understood. And it's kind of a journey of understanding, if I'm correct, as you get older and learn. But, and some things are just for you, and some things are just for men. So we don't try to tell everything to everybody. We're just telling people what you'd like them to know about your Maɗayin. Anything you'd like to add?
Well.
How about the, the language, how the language connects to these works?
Yeah. Well, language is one thing. The language is one, right? And when you hear people talking, I talk in my own dialects. This other mob, many of them, I talk it, and put your hands up, Doa. They all talk different languages, but similar. They all talk similar. You can say maybe Aussie English, maybe, or maybe Burmese English. That's what they say. What they talk, close together. They two different clan groups. For me, I can talk Yericha, I talk Tuala, but there is another clan groups close nearby. There's Munyokum and Mangalili, and well as Kumach there too. We all similar talk the same dialects, but different way of pronouncing and talking. Whereas some of them talk really strongly, some of them talk really softly. Like my language is really soft. Every Yiricha and Doa, both community can talk since from the childhood and ongoing onward, where they become a man and a woman. It's all connected to the song and to the patterns. The names, some of them have been given to this particular country, or to the patterns where they are, as like that, put on this wall. We all talk different dialects, and there is certain clan groups are probably remaining in Arnhem, only just little Arnhem called Yerkal area, but further down south Arnhem, they have different dialects. Even across to the island called Good Island, they talk different languages, and down south to Numboa, where I grew up, they talk different language. And that's why my language is really second language, third, fourth English language. Lucky that my father thought about that. He felt he would like me to go to Camilda College for 1 year and a half. And then he thought, that's enough. let's go back to our own tribal country. And I thought, which tribal country? Back there in Blue Maɗayin. And that they were mentioning Banela, and I said, no, this is my country. This is where I was born. This is where I grew up. But that was me talking. I grew up in Djambawa in different clan groups, different pattern, different song lines, different design languages. But my father made it happen. He took me back to Arnhem-land, Yirrkala area, and then we went back to our tribal country, where the song lines are, where the patterns are, where the kinships has been laid, and the neighborhoods, like people are living on different clan groups have a different homeland, and that is where we always go and meet together and talk together and get married and and make a family. It's really difficulty where the missionary and the mining and the exploration had started, and it's pretty hard for us to go back to our own tribal country. But the patterns are still still alive.
I don't know if you remember, but I came out and visited you at Banyala one time, and it was during the funeral in 2017. And we were trying to talk a little bit about Maɗayin, but really there were so many things to do, and you were in charge of everything. But we walked down to the shore, and we looked out on the water, and you said, I'll never forget this, you said, Margo, there it is, you can see it. My pattern, my country, my song line.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out to the water there, and I thought, I think I see it. I think I see it. I know I don't see it like you see it, but it was really a moment for me of coming to understand that how closely these works are connected to those homelands and to the country that they come from. And that these patterns that you paint on the barks are really there in the country. They're from the country. Now, one of the things about the languages that was so key in this project was making the catalog bilingual in English and Yolŋu. A lot of people labored on that, Francis Morphy and others, and young Yolŋu translators really developed great skills in working on the project together. But you felt, and Mr. Wannabe felt, that it was really important that catalog be bilingual. So why is that? What did you want that catalog to do for Yolŋu people?
Well, one of the priority and the vision was about probably putting it more wider, or to reach out to the other nation, and for our people back there, so they can, we've been doing it quite a lot of book back there too, cataloging back there for personal thing for Arnhem-land and for or even Australia. But then the better to reach out to other part of our country, like we are here in, what shall we call it, Europe, or what this place now?
United States.
Yeah. Sorry?
America.
America, yeah. And that was, we would like to put this catalog for American. What can we do to have communication, or to make friendship in proper way, in humble way, and in harmony and a peaceful way. So this catalogue, it's really to show that we are reaching out to meet the other neighbor who close to in Australia, and people were going from this country across to Northern Territory. Even there were some of them were archaeologists and anthropologists that were reaching out and getting all those messages or working with people in Northern Territory or in Australia. And I think this is the time that we are trying to give for the third or fourth generation to come. And why not we making, you are sitting with me now, we are talking together, and I think that patterns and design and the catalogue has made us into equal unity, like, to maybe work along in for a long-term future, maybe, right?
Indeed. And your painting, we have a couple of paintings by you in this exhibition. One won the Bark Painting Award at Telstra in 1996, and Kluge commissioned that. But the other one won the general Telstra Award in 2019, I think. And that one is a particular one on that theme of Journey to America. It was your journey, your reaching over to America, finding the bark paintings here, right?
Yeah.
And kind of bringing us all together for this project. Gosh, there's just so much, and you spoke about a lot of it earlier, and I want to just pull out a couple of things. One was that there was a tremendous amount of research that went into this project. And that research was really two-way research. It was staff of Kluge-Ruhe and, working with consultants and anthropologists and experts, and of course all the Yolŋu knowledge holders. And the other way was Yolŋu doing their own research on the collections that they hadn't seen in a very long time, if at all, that were in American collections. So through these curatorial visits back and forth, and Djambawa came after his residency, came back with Wakamunagor on a curatorial visit, and Mr. Wannabe came with Yinamala Gumana on a curatorial visit, and Goinbi came on a visit as well, and Ishmael came as well. He came back with Mr. Wannabe on another curatorial visit, and then Henry went to Yirrkala many times, and took a slew of people from UVA with him too. So it was through that kind of exchange that we all learned so much more about Yolŋu art, and Yolŋu as well, had access to things they hadn't seen in a really long time. And I think that it's really important that research is documented permanently, both, we're all seeing it here in the exhibition, but in the catalog, in the online digital resource, which is fantastic, a great way to explore the ways that the art is organized by clan and songline and country. One of the other things that you talked about was that reaching back to that very history, the very first Thompson paintings. And I just want to tell the group here and the group that's streaming online that was a very difficult prospect to bring those old paintings here. We had to rely on the Australian government, some real allies in the Australian government, the University of Melbourne, Waka, who spoke for his father in a very strong way and insisted that these paintings be included in the exhibition, and we're so grateful to the University of Melbourne for taking possession of the paintings back to allow them to come here, and for the government, the Australian government actually had to change the Heritage Act legislation in order for the works to come over, even just for temporary exhibition. So Julie Banks is here from the University of Melbourne, and she's been a fantastic partner on this. But you know, those works do such important, like they offer such an important perspective to this exhibition because they really are the first that exists today that came from your people. You know, no doubt there were bark paintings before then, but they're the first that we have in museums. And like you said, they were kind of emissaries from your people to non-Yolŋu people, to called Balanda, non-Yolŋu people, to make peace, to make a relationship, to bring people together, as you just described. So I think it's really fitting that we're sitting in the gallery with two of those works intended for that very purpose. And you just said that that's what this project has done. It's brought us together. So I thank you for that. That has fulfilled all of my goals at Kluge-Ruhe, and I believe it's fulfilled a lot of our partner goals as well. And we're, you know, I just got 10,000 steps somehow. But we could take some questions from the audience, maybe, or some questions that are live streamed.
We have one question from online, which we can answer this later. Will this exhibit be going anywhere else after it's run here at the museum?
Yes. I'm happy to answer that question. You know, it's going to go to American University following the hood, and there's a little bit of space in between each exhibition. All the dates and venues can be seen online. So the next place will be American University. Following that, it will go to Los Angeles, to the Kleefeld Contemporary Art Center at Cal State, then to the Fralin Museum of Art at the University of Virginia, and then to the Asia Society in New York. And we're really excited about all of those partners, that this exhibition will travel coast to coast, that it will be in major urban areas where people will really get exposed. But let me tell you, we couldn't ask for a better place to premiere the exhibition than Dartmouth, with its history of commitment to Indigenous people, the wonderful collection that's held here, the Will Owen and Harvey Wagner collection, and has been really lovingly curated many times into wonderful exhibitions, and this space, which I have a lot of museum envy right now, just looking at the space, seeing the teaching spaces that the Hood has, and you know, it just, I can't imagine a better place for this exhibition than right here at the Hood. So I thank John and Jamie and the whole staff here again for, you know, really making this possible. So what other questions do we have from our audience here? John?
I was just in the position of trying to explain to a visitor that we will be being part of an audience from the United States. We will only get in a little bit into these paintings, and that there's a whole depth, a whole realm that we're not really invited into. And they were like, well, that's not really fair. And I didn't know how to answer that. And I was just wondering if either of you could talk to, like, we see these as incredible visual objects. They also have a real depth. How do we gain access to understanding even generally what that kind of depth is? How do you communicate that to your audiences usually?
Can you also repeat the question?
Yeah, certainly. So the question is, we know that there's a lot more knowledge behind these paintings that we can't access. It's not for us to know. one is like, how do we understand what you are trying to communicate to us with the paintings, and learn to accept that there's a limit to what we can know as Balanda. We can't know it all, right? We're at a university, so we tend to think that if we do enough research, we'll understand everything. But really, can you explain why Yolŋu have, why there's a limit there about what you can tell us?
Well, I'm going to turn my minds around and my tongues around. Let me explain about our system, Yolŋu system. Our system, it's like this. The artists are there, and the elders are there, and the owner of the patterns and designs are there, and the country. And more further, there is a person who hold the patterns and designs and the stories. Okay, we do have our own. We always care for our. As I said, I think earlier, but we always look after it, and I mean, there's a system. Yolŋu, Wakortangu, Mariotangu, Kotara, the older. Sorry, I'm just, mother and child, grandsons are all connected, and I'm talking about not only one family, but reaching out from the other clan to guide and to be looked after, and they can be used sometime to how to run and to look after their future. Maybe this is our side because we don't live on money. I'm talking now. We don't live on money. We live on kinship and relations and curator, like kinships. We're talking about kinship relationships. We do care, live on that system. It's really a completely different way of looking at ourselves. When the father and the mother and the grandfather, we all join together. We eat. We care for one particular patterns and designs, and we live with that money, with little money.
That is such a perfect answer because, the idea is that the social structure and the kinship that guides all of the relationships among Yolŋu and really holds society together is what entitles people to certain knowledge. And there are people who have, because of their kinship relationship, they have specific ceremonial duties and they have access or control access. And so, in answer to your question, we don't have that kinship relationship. We aren't the members of the clan. We aren't in that ceremonial relationship. And so our knowledge, our access to knowledge is, as a result, it's limited. This is very kind of proprietary knowledge among the different clans and shared too, But, and I think that we've come up against this before, and actually one of the last times I remember talking about this issue of being okay with not knowing everything. It had to do with the Owen and Wagner collection. And it was like this round table that was organized with crossing cultures. And there was just, some of the participants really delved deep into that. And, just, it's really a way of honoring other people's knowledge to say, I can't know all of that. So, other questions? Louise.
Thank you very much, Dr. My question is about the Donald Thompson paintings. The many beautiful ones. I was just wondering, how did the group decide which of the Thompson box to include? Did they have to be a particular clan, or were there other restrictions about which ones you select? I don't know how many there are here. Maybe 5, I don't know.
So I'll repeat the question, and it might be a difficult question to answer because some members of the curatorial team who made some of those decisions aren't with us. But Louise wanted to know, was there a reason why some of the Donald Thompson paintings were selected and not other ones? Is that something you know the?
You can see one of them there,
Yeah.
and there's another one there. Some of them I've just seen all those other ones there, behind there, or up that way. That was Dr. Thompson's collection, I think. There were few here. Is it this what you're asking?
Well, here.
Yeah.
Maybe another way to think. Remember when you and Waka, we were laying out all those pieces of paper. You remember at Kluge-Ruhe had the hundreds of pieces of paper lined out, and you and Waka were like, well, that one and that one, but that's the same as that one.
I will say this question gets into what was behind the curation of the exhibition in the first place. So, we had talked about how you weren't really trying to tell a story that's about the history of Yolŋu bark painting, even though there's older paintings and you're showing the whole story, but you were trying to tell more of a story about the relationship of Yolŋu people in the different clans, I think. Is that correct? That's how you organized the works and selected them?
Yeah, selected like that. See that one there? That's pattern where Dr. Thompson has collected. They are not really clear, but when the other clan groups and other same clan group, Yolŋu clan group, she made it happen, made it really clear. You can see it there now. Yeah. And then you can see from the other, there's another one again, young generation who made these ones here. That one there, clear. They made it really clear. From all hidden things, all came into public, so people can understand what is that means to human being. Yeah.
That's such a good point, because I think historically the designs were more guarded and more hidden, and then they became more clear when Yolŋu decided to use the designs publicly.
Yeah.
To try and draw attention to their need to remain on their homelands, and the competing interests of the government and others, mining companies and others, and so they became clearer and clearer in terms of seeing the image. And then also, there is obviously a commercial side of Yolŋu art as well, which is that it's very successful. Buku Larnge is an amazingly successful business, And these artists regularly win national awards in major museums in Australia. And I know Americans haven't been exposed to bark painting on that same level the way that Australians have, and we hope Maɗayin really changes that. But the fact that the designs are so generously shared and so visible is something that you can see, you know, if you look at the historical ones next to the newer works. Jamie, did you have a question? One last question, I think.
Yeah, there's a question, there's several questions from online, but the one I'm going to pick is, can you talk about the aesthetic versus the narrative qualities of the designs?
Okay, so can you talk about the designs, the way that they're pretty pictures and visually really strong? You know, you write about kind of the hook, right? The visual strength of the paintings versus, or like, next to the meaning of the painting. So when you look at a painting, what do you see first? Do you see the hook, or do you think about and see the story behind it, the song line behind it? I know. We ask.
Well, I say, when I say, I can see the stripe, I can see some stripe, and I know that belongs to one clan group. For that one, I can see Ngaimel. I can see that one for Ngaimel. And yes, Ngaimel and Dadawi, they're both together. There's two clan groups. And when I look at that way, I can say this is another clan group called Turi Chapo. No, not Turi Chapo, Kopa Chapo. When I look at this way, I can say, because that's those ones there, they're my mother's clan groups. And some of them I was supporting, putting some, helping my family. Yeah, and when I saw, when I can see the other one there, that's Djambawa clan groups. And when I look at that one there, I can see already work on this patterns and design. All the signs and for those people, you can see the sign and also the image. You can see it on that bark there. It tells you. And if you cannot believe it, and we can talk. And if we talk with our own language, if you cannot listen what I'm talking, I can sing for you with song line. And if you don't understand what my song line means, we will all dance, and you can come and join with us. And in that way, we always bring young people, young ones back in our own backyard or in our own country, to bring them so they can understand and they can learn where their mother's clan groups are, where their grandfather's clan groups are, where their nephew's clan groups are. We have a system then, nephew, grandson, grandfather, the other way around you can say it, that we are all together as unity. We do care and we do have kinship, very strongly. Never the end yet.
Okay.
Maybe when the world will turn around, maybe it will end.
Kinship is the key, and I think that question, these things are completely intertwined in Yolŋu art. You can't separate them as an either or. But we have really reached the end of our time tonight. So I just want to thank all of you for being here, and I want to thank Djambawa Marawili. Let's give him a big hand.
Your pleasure.
night.